For the adding and subtracting of fractions that are positive and negatives, these are going to be the hardest ones to do because the rules for adding and subtracting integers are a lot harder than the rules are for multiplying and dividing. So you got to be really, really careful in these. So first, we are just going to look at the basics, reminding you how to add and subtract fractions. Then we're going to look at it with the integer rules. So first, with adding fractions, we just rewrite the problem vertically, convert to the least common multiple, and then add. So I'm going to rewrite this as 15 3/4 plus 8 1/6. And then I'm rewriting using the common denominator. So 4 and 6, their least common multiple or least common denominator is 12. So I want this rewritten with a denominator of 12. So 4 times 3 will give us 12. 3 times 3, we got to do the same to the top, is 9. For 6 times 2 gives us 12, so we have to do the same to the top. 1 times 2 is 2. Now we can add. 9 plus 2 is 11 over 12. 15 plus 8 is 23. All right, let's do another one. First, I'm rewriting vertically because when we add and subtract, we do that vertically. We need to multiply by something to get our common denominator. So 10 and 15, the lowest number that they both multiply into is 30. So our denominator is going to be 30. 10 times 3 gives us 30, so we have to do the same to the top. 7 times 3 is 21. 15 times 2 gives us 30, so we do the same to the top. 8 times 2 is 16. And then we add. 21 plus 16 is 37 over 30. And then 14 plus 7 is 21. The issue here is that 37 is higher than 30, so we're going to add on the 1 to the 21 to make it 22. With 7 left over. So 22 and 7/30. All right, let's look at some basics of subtraction, and then we're going to do some problems together, practicing using those integer rules. So same steps, we're going to rewrite them vertically, and it's important with subtracting because order is important for subtraction. So we have 30 3/4 minus 4 1/16. Again, we're going to multiply by something to get our common denominator for both of these. So 4 and 16, a lot of people make the mistake and they're going to use 32 because they forget that 16 is a multiple of 16 and both of them go into 16, so we're going to keep it that way. So 4 times 4 is 16, which means we need to do the same to the top. 3 times 4 is 12. 16 times 1 is 16, so we do the same to the top. It stays the same as 1 over 16. And this time we are subtracting. Ignore that, I accidentally almost wrote a plus sign. So when we are subtracting, we're going to take our fractions first. We have to do that first. 12 minus 1 is 11/16. And then 30 minus 4 is 26. So that was a basic subtraction one. Let's look at one where we're going to have to borrow. So again, the same steps. We rewrite it vertically. We're going to multiply by something to get our common denominators. 7 and 3, their least common denominator is 21. 7 times 3 is 21. We do the same to the top. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 7 is 21. Do the same to the top. 2 times 7 is 14. Now we can subtract. Problem is, even though we worked with integers where we can subtract, we don't do that with fractions. So we can't do 9 minus 14, so we have to borrow. Our 15 is going to become 14. Our 9, we add our denominator. 21 plus 9 is 30. 30 minus 14 is 16 over 21. And then 14 minus 4 is 10. So that was just the reminders with positives. Now let's look at it with negatives. Again, remembering, when we're adding integers with the same sign, we find the sum. When we're adding with different signs, we are finding the difference. So let's just do a couple examples here. So applying the integer rules first. That is the most important thing to do first. Whenever I see this minus a negative, I change it to plus. Now I have a positive and a positive. They're the same, which means I'm finding the sum. The order doesn't matter for a sum, so I'm just going to keep it in the same order. 35.5 plus 5/19. Again, we are going to convert to the same denominator by multiplying by something. 19 and 2. The lowest number they both multiply into is 38. Whoops, that wasn't supposed to go here. 2 times 19 is 38. Do the same to the top. 1 times 19 is 19. 19 times 2 is 38. Do the same to the top. 5 times 2 is 10. Now we can add. 19 plus 10 is 29 over 38. And then 35 plus 0 is just 35. All right, number 6. We have a positive value and a negative value. They are opposites, so we are finding the difference. When we are subtracting, order is important, so we have to take the bigger fraction first, the bigger absolute value. 15/16 is bigger than 4/8. So the 15/16 is going to go first, and we are subtracting 4/8. I'm going to multiply by something to get our new fractions that we are going to subtract. 16 and 8, their least common multiple, their least common denominator is 16. So 16, we're just multiplying by 1 to keep it the same. So it stays the same. 8, we are multiplying by 2 to get to 16. 4 times 2 is 8. And now we subtract. 15 minus 8 is 7/16. We go back. Our bigger number was negative, so it is going to be a negative result. There were more negatives than positives. And let's keep practicing. The more that we practice, the better we're going to get. So this one, we've got a negative and a positive. When they are opposites, we are finding the difference. Again, the order matters for subtraction, so we got to find the bigger absolute value. 8 1/3 is the bigger absolute value. That's what's going to go on top. So 8 1/3 minus 5 5/6. We need to multiply by something to get our new common denominators that we can subtract. 3 and 6, their least common denominator is not 18, it's not 12, it is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. Do the same to the top. 1 times 2 is 2. 6 times 1 is 6. Same to the top. 5 times 1 is 5. Now we are going to subtract. We can't do 2 minus 5, So we have to borrow. Our 8 becomes 7. And then we add our denominator. 6 plus 2 is 8. Now we can subtract. 8 minus 5 is 3/6. 7 minus 5 is 2. You might realize that 3/6 simplifies to 1/2, so we get 2.5. Now we have to go back to our original problem to decide, is it positive or negative? Our bigger absolute value is negative. There's more negatives, so this is a negative result. All right, number 8. We have a negative and a negative. They are the same, so we're going to find the sum. When finding the sum, the order doesn't matter, so I'm just going to go first and second. So we have 12 and 4/5 plus 14 and 6/7. We need to multiply by something to get our common denominator. 5 and 7, their least common multiple is 35. So we're going to multiply. 5 times 7 is 35. Do the same to the top. 4 times 7 is 28. 7 times 5 is 35. Do the same to the top. 6 times 5 is 30. And now we subtract. 28 minus 30. We can't do that. So we need, we're adding, never mind. 28 plus 30 is 58 over 35. 12 plus 14 is 26. When we look at the fraction here, 58 is bigger than 35. So 58 minus 35 is 23 over the denominator of 35, and then we add the 1 to the 26 to make it 27. Since we were adding negatives, this is a negative result. Let's do 2 more practice. Again, these are trickier. There's lots of different possibilities. More practice, the better. Here we have a negative and a negative. They are the same, so we're going to find the sum. For the sum, the order doesn't matter, so I'm just going in this order. 4/5 plus 8/9. We need to multiply by something to get our new fractions. 5 and 9, their least common multiple is 45. 5 times 9 is 45. Do the same to the top. 4 times 9 is 36. 9 times 5 is 45. Do the same to the top. 8 times 5 is 40. Now they're converted. We can add. 36 plus 40 is 76 over 45. If we look at this, that is bigger than 76 is bigger than 45, so we're going to subtract, and we get 31 over 45, carry the 1. So 1 and 31 over 45. We were adding negatives, so our result is negative. Last one, as soon as we see this minus a negative, we change that to a plus. Now we have a negative and a positive. When they are opposites, we find the difference. Our bigger absolute value is 32, so that's going to go first. It has to go first. 32 and 5/6 minus 12 and 3/4. We need to multiply by something so that we can get our new denominator. 6 and 4, their least common multiple is not 24, it is 12. 6 times 2 is 12, do the same to the top. 5 times 2 is 10. 4 times 3 is 12, do the same to the top. 3 times 3 is 9. Now we can subtract. 10 minus 9 is 1/12. 32 minus 20 is 20. Now we go back to figure out if it's positive or negative. Our higher absolute value is negative. We have more negatives than positives, so it is a negative result.